And the next little piece I'll read is about that. Remembrance of God. This is by, excuse my Arabic, Abu Sa'id ibn Abil Kair, who lived from 967 to 1049. The true man of God, man or woman, the true man or woman of God sits in the midst of his fellow men and rises and eats and sleeps and marries and buys and sells and gives and takes in the bazaars and spends the days with other people and yet never forgets God even for a single moment. In a second I'll read that again. Never forgets God even for a single moment. No, what does that mean? Does that mean whatever this person is doing, he always thinks, I must think about God. I have to God. When he buys something, he thinks, God, God, God. Obviously, that's not it. That would be a form of insanity. There's a similar thing that Jesus says, pray without ceasing. And I don't believe he can mean that you go around continuously, Our Father who art in heaven, while you're buying things and talking to somebody. It's just not possible. So they're not talking about that. And so when he says, never forgets God even for a single moment, he's not saying always thinks about God every single moment. You can't do that. That would be madness. So, God is not a mental object. For many people, God has been reduced to an idea in their mind that they believe in. And of course there are others who also have the idea of God and deny it. One person says, I believe in this idea of God, the concept of God. The other one, the concept becomes it. So it's a kind of mental idol that you can accept or reject, but even if you accept it, it's not the reality. It's just a thought, and you can't have that thought continuously. So, he's talking about not a thought, but a knowing that is non-conceptual at the back of your mind, or at the back of you, in the background. And this connects with what we said in the previous piece, what we read. There is a force in you. What was it? There's a force within that gives you life, seek that. This presence, this conscious presence, is that which makes everything possible. It is the light in which everything appears. Now that, I sometimes describe it as stillness, as light, as space, the inner space within you, a field of a space, a still space, but highly conscious, alive, a knowing. The art of living then is to have that in the background while you deal with life in the foreground. That is the art. You have to practice that. Once you've mastered it, then you have fulfilled your purpose here. And yet, never forgets God even for a single moment. In other words then, this person who never forgets God even for a single moment is aware not only of all the things that make up sense-perceived existence, and including thoughts, but he or she is also aware of the space in which all these things appear. So you are the space for that. So in other words, then you carry around a stillness at the back of you, a space, a stillness, even while you sell and buy in the bazaars. Well, nowadays it's the shopping malls. So while you're walking in the shopping mall, and while you're picking something up to buy, you're not totally lost in the objects of your life, whether they are external objects or inner objects that arise, because that means you forget God. Otherwise, you lose yourself in things, and things impinge upon you. You think your happiness and your peace depends on things. Things include, of course, mental objects also, not just physical objects. Mental objects are also things. So people depend on their ideology for their sense of self, for example. Completely lost in things also, the same as the person who depends on material possessions. Completely lost in things. You give your life over to things, either external things, or you give your life over to some fixed ideas, repetitive ideas in your mind. Completely lost in that. So, it is possible to know God continuously, even as you go about your daily life. And that is the teaching of the Sufis and any other spiritual teaching. But of course, to be identified with things means to be virtually asleep. So again, the Sufis also talk about waking up in the same way that other spiritual traditions do, the importance of, as Jesus puts it, staying awake, the importance of being the one who is awake, the Buddha, that's what it means. And Rumi says, if you want great wealth and that which lasts forever, wake up. If you want to shine with the love of the beloved in Sufi language is God. If you want to shine with the love of the beloved, wake up. You've slept 100 nights, and what has it brought you? For yourself, for your God, wake up, sleep no more.